line with us is Jessica Valenti. Jessica is a writer, the publisher of an extraordinary Substack newsletter. If you don't already subscribe to it, you must. It is brilliant. It's the URL is Jessica spelled normal, Jessica .substack.com. It's called All in Her Head by Jessica Valenti over at Substack, and she's subtitling it now, Abortion Every Day. It's just remarkable. She's the author of 7 books. She's the founder of one of the very first feminist blogs, Feministing. She's written for The Guardian, The Nation, and The New York Times. I think it's been about a decade since she's been on this program. I'm so glad to have her back. Her Twitter handle, of course, Jessica Valenti. Jessica, welcome back to the program, and thanks for the great work you're doing. Before we get into the kind of state-by-state, blow-by-blow update on what's going on, which is what I'm really looking forward to getting from you today, or hearing from you today, is America going to let Nebraska get away with charging a teenager with the crime of getting an abortion?
I sure hope not. But unfortunately, we've seen this sort of thing before, even before Roe was overturned. So I am hoping that shining a national spotlight on it will get some activist attention, get some, fury out there. But we don't have a really great track record with this kind of thing. This case is really terrible from the facts that have already come out. But the things that we should all be worried about don't just have to do with this teenager in Nebraska. It has to do with all of us, which is law enforcement there searched her Facebook messages. They got her medical records. And one of the things they're using in the case, which again, we've seen before, is the fact that she was feeling ambivalent about the pregnancy, that she expressed to her mother that she was feeling ambivalent about the pregnancy. And the police are using that to build their case.
Which is apparently a crime now.
Exactly. It's really distressing.
That is just absolutely breathtaking. As I mentioned in the introduction, every day in your newsletter, you chronicle multiple new horrors on a state-by-state basis. So I don't know where to begin. Do you want to just start going through the states and giving us an update on what's the latest news and what's going on?
I mean, there's so much. I'll try to start with better news, maybe. I think one of the positive things that we're seeing since Kansas is that Republicans are feeling really afraid about where they stand on abortion rights. They can sort of see the writing on the wall. We've always known that abortion bans are really unpopular. Most Americans want access to abortion to be legal. And so we're seeing in various states, governors who are running for office in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, they're all sort of walking back their extremism on abortion, at least publicly, and trying to make themselves seem a little bit more moderate. Or in some cases, I just wrote about this today, a guy who's looking for a congressional seat in North Carolina literally scrubbed his website of any mention of abortion.
Wow.
So they know that this is really unpopular. Abortion bans are really unpopular with Americans. So that's sort of the good news. The bad news is obviously these abortion bans are everywhere. Indiana just passed a really sweeping one. And what I'm finding sort of upsetting today, every day it's something different, is that there are a lot of companies who are publicly supporting abortion rights, saying, this abortion ban is terrible in Indiana. For example, Eli Lilly, Cummins, which is
headquartered in Indiana.
Headquartered in Indiana, came out and said this abortion ban is terrible. Meanwhile, they could have said that before the legislation passed. It came out they just spent $2 billion to build new sites in Indiana, even though they knew that this abortion ban was going to take place. So I think that there's a lot of talk and not so much action. Yeah.
So that's what's going on in Indiana. Oh, by the way, over in Pennsylvania, this actually is from the Philadelphia Inquirer, but I believe you've reported on this also, that the state says, we're gonna ban abortion, but we're gonna support the mothers, and they're giving money to the so-called crisis pregnancy centers. You want to tell us what those are and how that works?
Sure. Crisis pregnancy centers are just the worst of the worst, right?
They're generally run by churches, aren't they?
They're often run by churches. They're also state funded, sometimes federally funded. And they're really known for lying to women, spreading misinformation, using scare tactics. But one of the things they do most often is they pretend that they're a medical clinic. They'll sometimes even give ultrasounds, and they'll lie to women about how far along they are in an attempt to stop her from having an abortion. So they'll say, oh, don't worry, you're only 6 weeks. You have plenty of time to decide, when in fact, maybe she's 12 weeks. They're really, really nefarious. They lie all the time, but they get a lot of support, and they don't actually help women. There was one crisis pregnancy center, I believe it was in Texas, who, this is the kind of help that they give women. They let women earn points by going to Bible study classes, and then they can trade in those points for diapers. So imagine the kind of people who make women, low-income women, earn diapers, and that's who you're talking about.
Very good. That's amazing. Now, I know sometimes when I put together long lists of things, I certainly don't have them in memory at my command. So my apologies if there's so much data here that it's not right on the top of your head. But let's just look at some of these states. Ohio, you were writing about Ohio yesterday, pressuring city officials and prosecutors and whatnot. You know, what's going on in Ohio?
I mean, this is really good, and this is something that we're seeing nationwide, actually, in a lot of red states, where activists in Ohio are pressuring prosecutors, anyone on a local level, to come out and say, we are not going to enforce this abortion ban. We are not going to prosecute abortion cases. And a bunch of cities in red states have passed resolutions to that effect, saying, we understand that this is state law, but this is not something that we're going to spend city funding on. In more progressive states, they're passing city resolutions saying, we are not going to help with any out-of-state investigations. So it is sort of heartening to see all of these city councils and local activists, local politicians doing anything they can to try to support or decriminalize abortion in their towns.
And yet at the same time, down in Florida, the Hillsborough County District Attorney, who is an elected official, was literally removed from his office by police, by Ron DeSantis, who's practicing his little emperor routine because he wants to be president. Apparently in violation of state law, maybe not, I don't know, but just because of something he said, which was that he would not be prosecuted. He hasn't done anything yet, but that he said he wouldn't be prosecuting these cases. You want to give us the details on that? And is that something that's happening in other red states? Because I know a lot of, virtually all red states have at least one blue city in them. And a lot of those blue cities have district attorneys who are saying, not me, ain't going to happen here.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has been removed or suspended yet. And I don't know if it's going to hold up. I do know that that particular guy, I forget his name, I'm so sorry, he is taking legal action to try to get reinstated, to try to get the suspension blocked, and hopefully that will work. But I do think, as you said, like any of these governors who are going to be doing grandstanding are going to try their best to take action against anyone who speaks up or uses whatever power that they have to fight back against these bans. And if it's not officials, it's doctors, right? Like we've talked a lot about, or I've written a lot about the Indiana doctor who gave an abortion to the 10-year-old rape victim in Ohio, and the attacks on her that were so clearly meant to have a chilling effect, right? Not just on her, but on any doctor who might speak up about what's happening on a state level on all of these tragic cases that they're seeing because of the abortion bans.
Yeah. So also you read about, this is from yesterday's newsletter, Georgia and Louisiana. You've got an abortion desert there. Stacey Abrams is speaking out. You want to fill us in?
Sure. I mean, what's really hard is that Georgia, Atlanta in particular, used to be a hub, used to be a place where people could go for abortions in the South. And now we're seeing in the Southeast in particular that there is a real problem that all of these abortion bans are passing. It's not so easy for people to go to other states. You're talking about taking days off work, raising money, which of course is the point. I've even written about, the Texas Tribune did a great piece about how Mexican pro-choice organizations are seeing this huge influx of Americans from southern states seeking abortions there because they can't find any access where they live, and it's just easier to go to Mexico.
What's the deal with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer being subpoenaed as part of a legal battle over abortion?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this one out myself, to tell you the truth. I think that she takes the stand this week. This is just part of one of many ongoing battles in states where Democrats are blocking trigger laws, Republicans are trying to get those blocks, the blocks removed, and everyone is just going back and forth in these legal battles, and it's chaotic, right? It's chaotic in Michigan. It was chaotic in Indiana when Republicans were fighting amongst themselves to get their law passed. And that's one of the things that's been, I mean, one of the many things that's been so horrible and telling about a post-Roe America is that Republicans said that getting the issue back to the states was going to clarify things. It was going to make things easier. It was going to make things more clear-cut. But obviously, it's just making things much more confusing, much more chaotic, right, in governments, in hospitals, in schools.
Right, and now they want to do a federal ban to solve that problem. We're talking with Jessica Valenti. Her newsletter, All in Her Head, is jessica.substack.com. If you haven't subscribed, do so quick. And Jessica, we have just 15 seconds here before a hard break. What can people most effectively do to support abortion rights in America?
Just stay informed as much as they can. One of the reasons I'm doing these daily updates is because the Republican strategy is to bombard us into inaction, and just don't lose hope and keep reading up.
There you go. Jessica@substack.com, or jessica.substack.com is the website.